Annie, Annie, I'm going to ask you to lead the pledge.
That's fine.
I always forget who I did it last, so I did Larry last time, didn't I? Yeah. Whatever. It'll all come out in the wash.
That's exactly right. I got 7.
All right, I believe we're close enough. So call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone here this evening. First item would be the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Annie Jean if she'll lead us in that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I have a few changes on the agenda. Under proclamations, I want to add D, History Month. Under public hearings, I want to add B and move that actually from new business A. So what we'll do is discuss that right after, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then on Eastern Wake EMS property, I want to add ATV and trailer for us to recognize that as well. And that's the only changes I have. Anybody else have any changes? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor? And the motion carries. Okay, we have 4 proclamations. If my voice gives out, I'll pass these to y'all. But I'm going to start through them. The first is Municipal Clerks Week, May 2nd through the 8th. And it reads, whereas the office of municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all, whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, Providence County, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of municipal clerk, now therefore we, the Board of Commissioners of the town of Zebulon, do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerk Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. And I'll take a motion to adopt it this date of May 3rd.
I make
moved.
a second.
All in favor? And thank you. Okay, the next one is Police Appreciation Week, May 9th through May the 15th. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 9th falls as the National Police Week, and whereas the members of law enforcement in the town of Zebulon, as well as Wake County and the state of North Carolina, play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our community, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agencies, and that members of our law enforcement recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Whereas the men and women of law enforcement of the town of Zebulon unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore the town of Zebulon Board of Commissioners calls upon all citizens of the town of Zebulon and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 9 through 15, 2021 as Police Week, with appropriate observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers past and present who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to this community, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Now, therefore, we do proclaim the week, May 9 through 15, 2021, as Police Week, and call upon all citizens of the town of Zebulon to observe the 15th day of May 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of federal, state, and municipal law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of their duty. And I'll call for a motion to adopt this date of May 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, National Public Works Week, May 16th to May 22. Whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens of Zebulon, and whereas those facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works employees, and whereas those individuals build, operate, maintain, and administer the streets, sidewalks, greenways, stormwater infrastructure, solid waste, and recycling collections, public buildings, and other structures and facilities that are vital to the citizens of Zebulon, and whereas it is in the interest of the public for citizens and civic leaders to understand the role that public infrastructure plays in protecting the environment, improving public health and safety, contributing to economic vitality, and enhancing the quality of life of our community. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the town of Zebulon join the American Public Works Association and other interested agencies and civic organizations in recognizing the contributions of public works professionals to the health, safety, and quality of life in Zebulon, and resolve that the week of May 16 through May 22nd is proclaimed as National Public Works Week. The Board of Commissioners recognize and celebrate the important contributions public works professionals make every day to the community. So again, I call for adoption this date of May 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Historic Preservation Month, Whereas the town of Zebulon joins cities and counties across the United States in a nationwide celebration of Historic Preservation Month, and whereas National Historic Preservation Month 2021 is sponsored nationwide by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for economic development, tourism, promotion, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. And whereas the town of Zebulon encourages members of the community to participate in creative and fun events related to historic preservation as a way to celebrate Preservation Month 2021, now therefore we resolve Board of Commissioners of the town of Zebulon declare the month of May 2021 as Historic Preservation Month in Zebulon, and I call for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Made and second, all in favor? Thank you. Do we have any more public comments?
We did not.
Normally, we would have public comment. We do not have anyone this evening. Okay, next we have a public hearing. Special use permit application. This is a quasi-judicial type hearing, so bear with me just a minute and let me go over that. First, I want to read about 160D. In accordance with NC General Statute 160D 406, a quasi-judicial hearing is an evidentiary-based hearing to gather competent material and substantial evidence in order to make findings of fact regarding a specific application of a development regulation and that requires the exercise of discretion when applying the standards of the regulation. I need to ask if any of you have had any ex parte communications or have you been approached by anyone to discuss this? Okay. Do any of you have any conflict of interest with regards to this application? Okay. And then finally, are you able to make a fair and impartial decision based only on the evidence and testimony as presented during the hearing? If you are, raise your hand, please, on that one. Okay, thank you. What's going to happen is I'll call the hearing into order. Staff will provide an overview of the proposal, and they may call witnesses. Any witness that comes forward, including staff, has to be sworn in by our clerk, and it is evidentiary testimony, so it must be substantiated type of information. First, I will ask anyone that wishes to testify after staff, testify in support, then anyone in opposition, and then perhaps just neutral, somebody with a neutral input. Staff or the applicant may cross-examine any of the members of the public. So if there's someone there and then there's a question by the applicant of that witness, they have the right to do that, but you need to let me know so I can recognize you. Having said that, I think we're good to go. So I'm going to call the public hearing to order and ask for staff report.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I did.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Bradshaw. SUP 2021-1. As the mayor stated, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. This is for a special use permit, and it's for an adult daycare. The applicant is Rosemary Nwako. The owner is Jason Landon. The property address is 111 North Church Street, and the size of the parcel is 0.71 acres. The zoning on the property is downtown periphery district. These are the 6 findings of fact that you'll use to evaluate the proposal. The first findings of fact is it will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed. The second is it complies with all required standards, conditions, and specifications of the ordinance, including Article 4 uses section. The third finding of fact is will not substantially injure the value of the abutting land. The fourth finding of fact is it will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located. The fifth is in conformity with the town's adopted policy guidance. And the sixth includes a concept plan that accurately depicts the proposed uses configuration. As I previously stated, the request is an adult daycare. This is an existing structure on the piece of property, and it's currently a non-residential building. The adult daycare is a program operated in a structure other than a single-family dwelling that provides group care and supervision on less than 24-hour basis and in place other than their usual place of residence to adults 18 years or older who may physically or mentally be disabled and which is certified, approved to operate by the state of North Carolina. This is the vicinity map. As I stated, there is an existing structure on the site. That aerial is a little outdated. The site is developed. There was a site plan that came through review back in 2017, so there have been improvements to the site. You have single-family residences to the adjacent west and to the south, and then you have single-family residences across Horton Street to the north, and then you have some non-residential uses across Church Street. Properties to the north, south, east, and west are all downtown periphery district, including the subject parcel. This is the use table. As you follow the column, the DTP lines up with adult daycare. There's an S on the permitted use table, means the special use permit. Another area that must be in compliance is this use-specific standards. So if this use is allowed or is allowed on the property, it has to meet these use-specific standards. That might be more restricted than what other regulations would have. And these use-restrictive standards are for adult daycare. Number 1, the use shall be certified by North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Number 2, the use shall obtain all required licenses and permits from the state. Number 3, the use shall include a fenced outdoor gathering area of at least 25 square feet per patron receiving care. Number 4, the use includes a pickup and drop-off area that allows patrons to enter and exit vehicles without crossing a parking lot or vehicular access way. And then number 5, this adult daycare must be at least 1,320 linear feet from another adult daycare. This is the concept plan submitted. You do have the existing building. As I stated earlier, there are improvements on the site, so there is parking and sidewalks along Horton Street and North Church Street, as well as landscaping that met code back in 2017. Oh, and then there is a fenced-in area. The recommendation from staff is planning staff confirms that the proposed use meets all findings of fact standards, and then I would like to submit this presentation as evidence and testimony, this PowerPoint presentation for the May 3rd, 2021 meeting, and have the Board of Commissioners accept this as evidence. And once again, these are the findings of fact. So there are 4 options before you today. The first is approval of the special use permit and concept plan as proposed. Number 2, approval of a revised special use or concept plan. Number 3, denial of the special use and concept plan. Or number 4, table the special use application for further consideration, but we keep the quasi-judicial hearing open. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Question. Can you please state your address for the record?
1003 North Rendell. Zebulon 25975.
7597.
7597, perfect. Yeah.
Any questions for me? Thank you, Meade. Now I'll ask for anyone that wishes to come forward and present evidence in favor of this petition.
I have handouts. Can I just
We have to
pass
swear
it
you in.
around? Or?
Wait a minute. That's all right. Okay.
Ma'am, is this evidence that you're entering into the record? Yes. Thank you.
So I
Okay,
just
if you
swear.
could, right.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Can you state your name and address in the microphone, please?
Ihoma Alaribe, 1708 Trowick Road, Suite 115 in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Are you comfortable taking your mask down so we could hear you clear?
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, do I need to say that again?
Please, if you don't mind.
Okay. Ihoma Alaribe is my name. My address is 1708 Trowick Road, Suite 115, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27604.
And I'd like to ask you to affirm that what you handed out is you're being entered as evidence.
Sure. So I have the definition, the state definition of what a psychosocial rehabilitation program is. So that's the first one. The other ones are implementations of different kinds of services that we do for the consumers. I also have just, I guess, an expanded explanation of some of the findings of facts. And then our zoning letter for the 111 property, and then our state of North Carolina license with North Carolina Department of Human Health and Services.
And this is the evidence that you're entering in?
Yes. Okay. And then I can explain the thing.
Anything else?
No, I just wanted to, I guess, go over what a psychosocial rehabilitation program was, if you want to hear that.
Yeah, whatever you, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, so basically the program that we have here is a psychosocial rehabilitation program. It's also called a PSR. We basically have consumers who are adults that we do different services for. They have mental illnesses and or substance abuse issues. And what we do is try to help them integrate back into the community. So these consumers have goals that they want to accomplish. We have plans that we come up with the consumer and their natural supports. And then we make a program and we make goals for them. So their goals basically have to do with the services here. So some of them are, for example, community living. We teach interventions with personal care, social relationships, leisure time, educational activities, and pre-vocational skills, meaning how to get back into the workforce or into the workforce initially. So some of the, let me go, I guess, over the facts of finding. So all of our staff is trained in mental illness and substance abuse, along with other different trainings. But that, again, is, of course, the most important for our consumer base. All the staff have a program manager. The program manager supervises the staff, and then of course the staff supervises the consumers. The state says that we have to have a one staff to 8 consumer ratio, and we stick to that. That basically is enough supervision for the consumer. We do workshops in the facility, different interventions in the facility, and then we also try to do community outings. So of course, the community outings are also supervised, and then the community outings we're able to integrate, again, the consumers back into the community. We feel like the space we're able to zone it as an adult daycare center because we meet the specifics of all of those conditions. We're not going to make any alterations to the outside property. We don't have any. We want to basically use it as is the building as is. No, renovations or anything. So we want to keep it just how it is. Again, the goals for our participants are to teach them valuable independent living skills and to live in an appropriate and independent life. So that is really the main goal for this service. Again, is to make sure that a consumer who, has been out of the community or maybe in the hospital for a while, we can make sure that they have, skills and resources to integrate back into the community. The warehouse part of the building will be used for interventions. They'll be used for teaching workshops. Again, the consumers have specific goals that they want to achieve. It could be, for example, wanting to live on their own. We could be teaching them things like how to take their medications if they're in a group home, how to respect authority, again, how to take medications, how to groom, make sure that they can take care of themselves so they can, return back into the community. So that's just an example of one of the things that we would accomplish. And that's kind of all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, questions?
You said the ratio of staff was 1 staff member to 8.
To 8 consumers.
How many can you serve in that facility?
Depending on how many staff we have, but right now with the pandemic, they have reduced our numbers. So right now we're keeping about, I think the most right now is about 12 people in the actual building. What we have had when we were full-time was up to 50 consumers. That was our space that we had too as well, but we also had staff that could accommodate those numbers.
What would your hours of operation be?
We're usually open from 8, well, again, with the pandemic schedule, we're open about from 8:30 to 1:30, but we are supposed to be open for a minimum of 5 hours by state rule.
Other questions?
Is that Monday through Friday or 7 days a week?
It can be open 7 days a week. Right now, we're only Monday to Friday, though. But
Okay.
again, you can have 7 days.
Jan?
So what certifications do the staff members have to make sure that they are in compliance with state regulations?
Sure. So there's different types of staff. We have paraprofessionals, we have associate professionals, and then we have a qualified professional. Our PPs or paraprofessionals, they are supposed to have at least a high school diploma. And then again, the trainings that I mentioned, the overview in mental health, overview in substance abuse, we have confidentiality, we have bloodborne pathogens, and then we have to have after 90 days, the staff can have a service definition. They have to know what the service definition of the PSR is, and different things like confidentiality and bloodborne pathogens. So that's what the state requires, but at least a high school diploma. Associate professional is at least a college degree, same credentials with the training, and then the qualified professional is at least a college degree. Human service is preferred, but you have to at least have 4 years experience, post-grad experience for a qualified professional. So those are the people who are the program managers who oversee paraprofessionals or associate professionals.
Will each of those different groups of people be in the building at the same time, or is there a possibility that there will be just one person in the building with 8 consumers?
No, the program manager is always going to be there. So it's going to be the program manager, associate professional, or paraprofessional to take care of the eight consumers. So that program manager is always there to make sure that she supervises and make sure that she, is up to date on what's going on in the actual facility. And then we also have, I'm always there as well. I'm also a qualified professional. And then we have our intake coordinator as well.
I see in this information that you just handed out that one of the things that you do with the consumers relates to medication. Is this facility going to be used in any way as a substance step down?
No, there's no medication. We can't take medication. We don't administer medication. It's just, maybe just like a practice, but with no real medication. So it's just kind of just, telling them to recognize what pills that they take, what time they take them, things like that, but we don't administer medications.
Can you explain a little bit about the nature of the adult patient illnesses as far as the psychiatric disabilities?
Sure. So, of course, each person that is supposed to come or is eligible for this service has a mental illness and or substance abuse issue. So mental illnesses can run from schizophrenia, you can have depression, with substance abuse, of course, any kind of substance, but that's really the criteria for coming in. So we get information from their clinical assessment or any other information they might bring into for intake. We determine that diagnosis is correct for the program, and then they're seen by our licensed social worker.
Are these illnesses being managed prior to acceptance into the program?
Yes. So that's what our clinical social worker is for. She makes sure that the person is eligible for PSR. We do not want someone who cannot handle like being in a group setting or maybe just came out of the hospital, maybe just is not comfortable with being in a program yet, but that person, our clinical social worker, determines that part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
How many other facilities do you manage?
This is our only psychosocial rehab program, but we do have group homes and we have in-home health and one-on-one care. But this is our only PSR.
In Wake County?
Yes, in Wake
All
County.
in Wake County?
Mm-hmm.
Speak a little bit about the transportation. How do they get there? And
Sure. Some people are in group homes, some people are actually on their own. Some people may be with family, but some people actually have transported themselves. We also have vans ourselves to pick people up. And then there's also a system called Tracks, and they are able to be scheduled from their home or wherever they are to our facility.
any issues with disabilities as far as entering the building?
No, we do not take anyone who's not ambulatory, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
I have a question. Do you say y'all pick up the patient?
We do. Some people, we have definitely with this pandemic, we've been picking up people, but mostly we're trying to get people back onto tracks, and that's again with the state where they come in and take them from their house or their group home to our facility. But we have picked people up, yes.
Oh, okay.
This is a program, and I'm sure that it varies from consumer to consumer, but on average, how long is this program utilized by each person?
It really depends on their goals and the progress, really. I would say, I guess, the longest we've had someone would probably be about, I would say probably about three years that they've been working on their goals. But it also depends on if they're going back to the hospital, or if they're having some kind of relapse of some sort. That's really kind of what it depends on. So if they're doing well, we've seen people that have left the program to go on to jobs, to go on to living on their own, moving out of state. So it just really depends on the person.
Do you have a protocol in place for emergent mental conditions that might happen during the course of someone's day?
Right. Well, we also have, the staff is also trained to help with crises, but we also utilize our emergency services. We have actually a crisis center that we are familiar with, but really, it really starts with our staff and finding out what's happening in-house. And then we see if it needs to be something that is can't be handled in the facility, then we use our other resources.
So when you've operated in the past, how frequently have you had to call emergency services to assist you?
In the past, we haven't had many. It's been more of medical stuff, like it was too hot, someone passed out. Let me see. Someone had a seizure at one point, but we haven't had where police have had to come and intervene.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, you raised your hand.
I had the same question Commissioner Baxter did.
Okay. All right. Other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to provide evidence in favor? Anyone wishing to provide evidence in opposition?
Ask questions?
Is it an opposition or a neutral question? I'm going to call for that in just a minute. Anyone else? Go back to opposition, get that out of the way. Okay. All right, now neutral, but if you want to ask a question, you have to come to the podium. And you're also going to have to be sworn in because you might end up in dialogue.
Raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Craig Peebles. My address is 7704 Highland View Circle, Raleigh, North Carolina. I own the building directly across the street at 112 North Church Street. And I didn't even know about this meeting until 3 days ago. So evidently the mail was sent to a different address other than my home. So I'm kind of a little off guard here. So my concern is for, I used to work with CAP MRDD services, so I'm a little familiar with some of what you do, not this particular service. So I'm just have some concerns about safety in the area, that type of thing. What goes on exactly during day-to-day services, who's there to, are there going to be enough people there to watch and make sure everything goes okay? I have a business, people across the street, and I'm concerned for them as well. They were not aware of this tonight either, or they would have been here, I'm sure. So I don't know if there's any way to delay till we know more about this, or if it's just going to be a done deal tonight. Ma'am?
Having trouble hearing you.
I said, I just want to know is this a done deal tonight, or is there a way to delay this? Or is this just the beginning functions, before approval is given for this?
I'll go over the options to the board
Okay.
in just a little bit.
Okay.
But if you have specific questions for the petitioner, she can come back to the
Okay.
podium and answer your questions.
I think she answered what, some of my concerns were.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, I didn't know if you had any others. That was.
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. Okay?
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go over the options.
Okay,
for the
thank
board, so. Okay. Anyone else, not necessarily for or against, but wants to have something to say? Okay. Well, hearing no other people, actually you have 4 options, and the public hearing is still open. This is why I wanted to move this, because one of those options is to call for more information and bring further testimony. If you want to do that, we need to leave the hearing open and simply table for the future. But you can approve the special use as proposed. You can approve a revised special use or concept plan. You can deny the special use or concept plan, or as I said in the beginning, you can call for more information or just simply table it. I would suggest I would suggest if you're going to table it that you leave the hearing open, but that's your call. So does anyone feel that they need more evidence before making a decision on this request?
I don't feel I need more evidence, but I would like to take in consideration that folks want to have more input and more say-so in it. So I want to be considerate of that.
Okay.
Yes, if the employees that work right across the street saying that they haven't heard anything about this, I would be concerned that they had more information or was allowed to get this information if they don't already have it.
Did Meade, can I get you? There is a list here of adjacent owners and HOA contacts. Were they not included in that list?
It's all the property owners across the street or adjacent to the property. And they were, the letters were put in the mail over 10 days ago.
Okay, I want to be real clear. The people across the street that's in this gentleman's building were contacted?
If it's this one right here,
I don't know exactly what that address is. That's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Is that where Design Dimensions is located?
Now, I'm sorry, sir. You're going to have to come to the podium if you want. I'm sorry. It's the way this has to be run.
is this building right here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, they're notified.
They were contacted?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was, I think, Glenn's concern.
Yeah, the gentleman mentioned that he didn't receive the mail or it went to the wrong address or something.
It should have gone to the mailing address.
Not the parcel address, but the mailing address.
Correct.
And so people that are occupying those buildings would not have necessarily been informed of the public hearing by mail.
I mean, if it's not the site address, it would have gone to whoever owns the building.
Okay.
Okay, so the occupants were not contacted.
I don't know what the mailing address is on the property, but
Okay, we're just
They went
trying
to the
to
mailing
determine
address.
what did or did not
so
happen.
if this is 112 North Church Street, but the owner lives in Goldsboro, went to Goldsboro.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so it went to Raleigh. Okay. Well, it should have. I mean, it was put in the mail.
Okay, so what's the real status here? It was sent to his address or not?
It was sent to Raleigh.
Okay, but you say you did not? All right, okay. Okay. For the record, he says he did not receive it. Okay. Pardon?
She needs to be sworn. She needs to
Can you testify? Yeah, just let me finish with where we are, okay? Anything else you have on that, meeting?
No, I mean, I
Okay.
apologize if he didn't get the mailing, but the mailing went out.
Okay, I get it.
Can I recall that witness, please?
We're
After
gonna
Larry?
do it, just hold on.
Were these sent by certified mail?
The first class.
Okay, because we know the postal system is not operating like it used to be. I've had things take over 10 days, even mailing a bill in for it to get somewhere. So there's a possibility the post office hasn't delivered it yet.
Okay. I mean,
Plus, the street sign's been out there a month, and
excuse me?
the street sign saying there was a public hearing has been out there
10
like...
days.
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right, thank you, Millie. Yes, ma'am, if you'd like to testify.
Raise your right hand and put your left hand on the Bible.
Rosemary Wanquo.
Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand.
Okay.
Right here.
It's right
here.
here, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Raise your right hand. There you go.
Rosemary Wanquo.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, state your name and address, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. And your name and address,
My name is Rosemary Wanquo.
okay?
My address is 1708 Trailwick Road, Raleigh,
Okay,
27604, Suite 115. My name is Rosemary, and I own the Eagle Healthcare Services, and I've been in business since 1998. And I do mental health services, I do family care homes, I do home care agencies, and I also teach mental health issues and adult care home licensure for the state of North Carolina. I thank you for letting us come to present our case today. This office for PSR has been in Raleigh. We have been operating in Raleigh for about 5-6 years, but because of the pandemic, the space we have in Raleigh is too big for what we're doing right now. Most of our services are done virtually, so we wanted a smaller office, and we found one in Zebulon. Our program is licensed by the state, and we have adequate supervision for our clients when they are in the building. So the question that I have for the neighbor that was asking about issues, I wasn't sure exactly what his issue is. What does he want to know that is of concern for us to be his neighbor?
Okay, he can't answer you without coming to the podium.
Okay, so that's my question. Because I thought that we gave adequate notice for the neighbors who live around that vicinity. So I would like to know exactly what his issues are, so maybe I can help to
I'm asking him to come up to answer,
answer
try
his
to answer that
question.
question.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. You're sworn in, so
Okay.
you're good to go.
No, my concern is that I did not get any this information. It was sent to 112 North Church Street, and my tenant then forwarded it to me, but I didn't get it until probably Thursday of this past week.
No, if you're going to speak, you have to go back to the podium. Okay.
I said, I did not get this information until Thursday of this last week. The information was sent to my tenant across the street from this building you're looking at, and then he had to forward it to me. So, and all it said was there's a meeting. There was no information in there, what this was, what this company is. So I we just want to make sure about the company before we move forward. I need my tenant to know more about it because he's got a vested interest in this building as well as myself. So anyway, just concerns. I don't think there's going to be any problem, but I would like to know more about day-to-day operations. In the past, has there been any issues with, since you have people that have recovering, I guess, drug addicts, possibly, the neighborhood around it? I mean, I noticed nobody showed up, it seems. So I just wondered if anybody got the information.
Well, I'm going to try to help you a little bit. The neighborhood around it, they were contacted, so.
They were?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, beyond that, if you would care to go back and try to answer his questions, I don't know what more you can find
That's
out
it.
other than what
That's
you
it.
could provide
Yeah.
tonight, but I'm
I'm just
trying to help.
more worried about the safety of the area,
Okay.
and my tenants, and I'm sure they will have some concerns too if they were, aware of it. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You might stay close in case there's other questions that come up.
I guess so for our day-to-day, like I said, we have different interventions. They have different goals that they want to achieve. They have a specific plan, that they come up with the intake coordinator. We have our clinical social worker that also determines if they're able to come into the program. So they're not addicts that are running around trying to get drugs at the moment, because they wouldn't be considered for the program because they wouldn't be learning anything if they're trying to get drugs. So that's one example. But so day-to-day again is depending on what their goals are. We like to get them into the community. We like to teach them again about different independent living skills, personal care goals, pre-vocational skills, meaning like, they're filling out applications or they're finding out about how to talk to a manager or something like that. Then we have also people who want to go back to school, things like that. So that's really our day-to-day. We also offer them lunch and things like that, so that's something. But other than that, we don't have people just running around everywhere. We have staff that are, again, trained to supervise. And, the staff is there again to just make sure that either, if we're in the building, of course, they're contained in the building, or if we're in the community, making sure that, everyone is safe in the community as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, but please do it in the mic, because we record all of this, so.
What's the age range of the kids? Are they kids that are going to be looking for jobs? I mean, are they looking to, to better themselves?
We don't have kids. We have adults, 18 and up.
18.
Yes. So we have older adults that are looking for jobs, but we're not an employment, company, or this is not an employment service. It's just how to, have the ability or the skills to try and find jobs. Right.
Did you have any more questions? Okay. Glenn, you had a question?
Yeah, I have one. I think when you say substance abuse, folks get a little uptight or whatever. I would think that you wouldn't accept someone with a substance abuse problem unless they've been off drugs for a period of time. So maybe you could speak on that.
Right. So again, that's what our clinical social worker determines as well. If that's the case, the person comes into intake and we see that we can't take them, then we also try to, link them to different substance abuse programs, and then maybe we can see them after they're done with the program, and then we can take them in. But other than that, we're not having someone who has an active issue with any drugs, because again, we know that if they're coming into this program, they're not going to be learning anything because they're going to be more focused on getting the drugs. So that's not who we take in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Larry?
As part of the curriculum or treatment program, they would be accompanied if you're going to go shopping or go out on mock job interviews, et cetera?
Right, and it might be even more staff than usual, just so we can make sure that we keep an eye on everyone. So it's the same thing that's in the program. It's also outside of the program. We're going to a store. We're going to make sure that the staff is there. And we also make sure that, based off of the consumer's background or background, that we know that they're able to go into the community as well. So we always take that into consideration.
All right, thank you.
Other questions?
Is most of these people, are they senior citizens?
It's 18 and up, so is varied. But it's not, at least it's not 17 and below.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions? Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, last call. Anyone that wants to speak? Okay, board. I gave you your 4 choices. Does anyone feel that they need any more information? If not, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and now we'll go into, I'll close it, and now we'll go into discussion on the matter. What's your thinking? Anybody?
Seems that we have a question about whether or not the information was received with the mail being like it is, and folks not being given maybe more time to make a decision. I was just concerned about that.
Okay. I understand that. That is part of why we're having this public hearing, is to put that information out and let people ask questions. So just for clarification, that's part of what we were doing here. I understand your concerns. I'm not demeaning that. I'm just trying to explain how this works. These type of hearings work kind of like a court of law. And I'm the judge and you're the jury. So, but we have actually closed the public hearing. So if you truly have that concern, you can table it, but we cannot take any more evidence in. It's just more time for you to think. Other than that, it would be to go ahead and approve it or just simply deny it. And those are the options that are now. Those three options are what's in front of you at this point. Anybody else thinking?
Does the board have any questions about one of those 6 questions, finding the facts?
I believe I asked my questions and they were answered.
Mine too.
Everybody's comfortable? Okay, well, what's your pleasure then?
I'd move to approve the special use permit request for an adult daycare facility to be located at 111 North Church Street as presented at this evening's Board of Commissioners meeting, finding that in accordance with section 2.2.18.f of the UDO, the applicant has provided testimony and evidence to demonstrate that the findings of fact have been met.
And could you read the finding of fact, please?
Sure. Number 1, will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed. Number 2, complies with all required standards, conditions, and specifications of this ordinance, including Article 4, which is uses. 3, will not substantially injure the value of the abutting land or the special use as a public necessity. Number 4, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located. Number 5, is in general conformity with the town's adopted policy guidance. And number 6, includes a concept plan that accurately depicts the proposed uses configuration.
Thank you. Is there a second to this?
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Other comments or questions? All in favor, raise your hand. And the motion carries, so it is approved. Okay.
Can I please ask staff to maybe consider using certified mail in the future if this is an issue, just to make sure that everyone gets the appropriate notification?
Staff would like to make a comment on that?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. With quasi-judicial hearings, there's set parameters that are followed by state statute in terms of notification procedures and whatnot. Being that it says that we have to be consistent with our notification procedures, so that would essentially result in a text amendment to the UDO to change those procedures. It is possible. It is not something that a lot of other municipalities do. However, I think that we have some internal things to provide additional clarification. And is as a bit of information, the notifications that go out are only to advertise the joint public hearing meeting or the quasi-judicial meeting. There's no documentation or evidence of the intricacies or the details that are involved with the application. We do have those available for the town clerk to review ahead of time, though, once it is received. We also do post in a paper of general circulation 2 times before the meetings, as well as post signage on the site before the meeting as well. And that's all in accordance with state statute.
No, I wasn't thinking that we were not following guidelines or statutes. But we do have building owners that do not reside in our community, and I want to make sure that the notification of the public hearing gets to the appropriate person.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I thank you, folks. Next item is the consent agenda.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Okay. Planning Ordinance 2021-65-DA 2021-402 requiring text amendment 160D. That's a mouthful.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, once again, members of the board. This is a follow-up to the joint public hearing that was held several weeks ago in regards to North Carolina General Statute 160D. It does result in an amendment of several sections of both our Code of Ordinances as well as our Unified Development Ordinance. It'll amend Chapter 95, Chapter 151, and Chapter 153 of the Zebulon Code of Ordinances, as well as the Unified Development Ordinances. In most situations, it's only reference modifications to bring in alignment with the general statute. With the Unified Development Ordinance is reference definitions as well as clarification regarding ex parte communication and conflict of interest as it relates to the quasi-judicial process. What changed in terms of 160D versus the previous state and local legislations is minor regulation change, clarification of intent as it pertains to the land use classifications, the application processes and such. It does require consistency statements, as you'll see here in a moment, for legislative cases. It also provides clarification regarding approved conditions for conditional zonings as well as special use permits if there's conditions attached to those. Clarification with the quasi-judicial process in terms of conflict of interest, as well as a lot of internal staff procedures and modifications that are not regulatory, but they are, well, not regulatory in terms of our ordinances, but they're regulatory in terms of what me and I and the rest of the staff do, as well as a stronger emphasis on our land use plans. And that'll be specifically our comprehensive land use plan, which you'll hear more about next week, as well as our transportation plan. Once again, you'll hear about more next week. We did hold a joint public hearing, and there was nobody present to speak in favor or in opposition to the request, and the planning board unanimously recommended approval as drafted. Staff does recommend approval of the ordinance as drafted tonight, and I am available if you have any questions.
Question? Guess not. Okay, is there a motion?
I hereby move to approve the ordinance 2021-65 for approval of the proposed text amendments to chapters 95, 151, and 153 of the Town of Zebulon Code of Ordinance and the proposed amendments to the Zebulon Unified Development Ordinance as presented at the April 19th, 2021 meeting, finding that the proposed request is consistent with sections 2.2.20.g as of the UDO and the Vision 2030 strategic plan.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Other comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Budget presentation, Joe.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight we present to you the FY22 budget. As I let Bobby Stacy hand out these budgets. As they come to you, I'll go ahead and get started. So the outline of tonight's presentation is to go over the statutory requirements of the budget adoption process, review with you the schedule associated with that process, and then get into the budget message itself. North Carolina general statutes, more often than not, they will assign authority to a entity like the State Historic Preservation Office or to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. But there are some locations within the statute where the statute actually prescribes a process, and the budget is one of those. And so because of the prominence that the General Assembly placed on that, I'll quickly go through what those statutory requirements are. So this follows General Statute 159. It prescribes that before April 30th, that budget requests and revenue estimates are submitted to the budget office, or in this case, that is your town manager. Those were received on the operating budgets, they were received by January 31st, and on the capital budgets, they were received by March 1st. And then the statute goes on to prescribe that not later than June 1st, that a budget message be delivered, and of course, we're beating that. That is happening tonight, May 3rd. And then before adopting the budget ordinance, that a public hearing be held, and that is scheduled for your regular meeting night on June 7th. And then finally, not later than July 1st, to adopt a budget ordinance. As far as the schedule and process, again, tonight is the budget message. We'll be reviewing with you the goals and features of the budgeted activities that you just received. We'll provide for you tonight an overview of the changes from last year. And then you'll embark on a series of budget work sessions. There are 3 budget work sessions scheduled, one for May 11th, one for the 19th, and one for May 27th. During those work sessions, we'll provide details of significant programs and projects. We'll also offer an opportunity for anyone from the public to come forward and make a comment on the budget. That is in addition to the public hearing that you're required to receive public input. These are more informal. And then we will take questions and comments from you. We'll take questions and try to give you answers, and if we need to come back at the subsequent work session, then that's what we'll do. The budget ordinance public hearing, again, will be on June 7th. You'll be in a position to then, because you will have satisfied all statutory requirements, to adopt that budget ordinance on June 7th. You don't have to do it on June 7th, just as long as you do it not later than July 1st. And then at your August regular meeting, we'll come back to you with revision to your Zebulon 2030 strategic plan to show you how the goals have been updated within each of the focus areas based upon the budget that you just adopted. All right, as far as the budget message, goals and features go back to the storyline that you've heard several times, that Zebulon's population is growing. It's growing quickly. It can range anywhere from 1 to 7 people a day, although 3.5 is the current average. It's diversifying, meaning 64% is coming from a different county, a different state, or in some cases a different country. 30% is coming from the natural increase, meaning those that are living here currently are growing families. The land use is changing, as you've heard from us before. We're growing houses instead of tobacco. That's a easy way of saying that the road structure no longer supports the land use that's around it. And with houses, they have a much different traffic pattern and volume than farmers follow. But also the economy is changing. You're getting more residential, so you're getting more residential tax base, but that is also and will continue to drive more retail. So you'll get some retail offerings that you haven't seen before that are coming from residential, but also because you have a quaint downtown with a tight grid, you'll have an opportunities for more people to come specifically to your downtown as a destination. So you'll see some destination-related retail emerge more and more downtown. So with all those changes happening, the question, as we stated with the development of the strategic plan, is will we have the capacity to meet this change? In other words, can we handle the volume? An example of this is, do we have enough ball fields? And then will we have the capability to meet this change? In other words, can we handle the change itself? For example, what kind of fields do we build? So with that, we started an effort in 2017 to ask the community what was their ideal Zebulon of 2030. To put it a different way, what would they like to see changed? What would they like to see remain? And that produced the Zebulon Vision 2030 strategic plan, the vision being that we were going to be a vibrant, growing community that maintains its small town charm and heritage. The mission, meaning the town's purpose and role in that, is to enhance the quality of life for residents, to deliver not only excellent service, but that it be friendly service, and recognize that government has a place but can't do it all, but always have to seek collaboration with others, whether it be the private sector or the nonprofit sector, or get the private sector to collaborate with each other and the nonprofits to collaborate with each other as well. When we looked at everything that was compiled over that year-long effort, all of the programs and the projects, they fell into 3 focus areas. One was that the community wanted a vibrant downtown. They recognized that the community would grow, but they wanted to grow smart, and they wanted to preserve and protect that small town life that either they had grown up with or that they moved here seeking. So that is the overview of the budget message that you'll about to see. I'll focus on the 3 focus areas that you'll see in the budget as you start to delve through it. First focus area is on vibrant downtown. The goals of that focus area is to revitalize downtown and to attract people downtown, not only visitors, but attract residents. So you can have that resident filling and providing financial support to the retail activities that are in the commercial area of downtown. The issues associated with that, the development cost, giving the age of those buildings to bring them up to current fire code and building code, as well as some of the status or the lack of maintenance in some of those buildings, the cost to develop those buildings, it addressed that. And with that, the budget features presented in the budget to you tonight is that we continue the alleyway activation, phase 2. So there's a picture of some people enjoying the eastern side of that phase 1. The western side of phase 1 is about to start in the alleyway right next to the Creative Cup. Farm Fresh Market has moved downtown. This is its 2nd year downtown. You'll see actually it utilizing some of the alleyway activation, and actually it's spilling over into the alley that we are proposing to be alley activation phase 2. And then we have joined the North Carolina Main Street program as we continue to matriculate through that program, and our downtown businesses and property owners, as well as partnering with the town of Zebulon, we'll be able to have events like what you see right here. I don't know, can't remember what community this is, but this is one of the things where they have bed races downtown. The point being is that your community is looking for events. You as a government can't afford to host all the events, and you shouldn't have to, because the private sector and the nonprofits will pick it up, just like shown here with this other community, North Carolina Main Street program. And then for those buildings that need upfit, so this is a sketch of a building that's currently having some work done on it. This is just a sketch. It doesn't look like this yet. But as we mentioned, with the condition of some of these buildings, as well as the age of some of these buildings, waiting on the private sector to pick up some of these buildings is probably not going to happen. So this budget includes some incentives to incentivize the private sector to get inside those buildings, get them improved, get them higher property values to raise more property tax revenue, but also create a host location for a retail activity to move in there and generate some sales tax revenue for you as well. As far as the growing smart focus area, we need to coordinate our land use with our transportation. We need to stay up to date with providing adequate staffing, and we need to seek out partners when it comes to economic development. The issues are that we're already growing and that we're getting older. And so some of the features that you'll see in the budget presented to you tonight is a continuation of the traffic signals and the road widenings. There's a picture of a classic 2-lane farm-to-market road. We need to get those roads widened by adding lanes as well as making them multimodal. So that is a sketch showing bike lanes as well as sidewalks. Infrastructure maintenance. We've got close to 17 miles, maybe a little over 17 miles of storm drain system. So if you straight line between downtown Zebulon, you almost get to downtown Raleigh, to give you an idea of the scale of the storm drain system that we're maintaining. 8 of those miles are under 10 years old. They are associated with the recent development that you've had going on, but 9 miles is over 50 years old. And as we've come to find out in places like West Vance Street, West Lee Street, and what you see in this budget of East Vance Street, we've got some storm drain infrastructure that we need to tend to. Building and property maintenance, 2007, 2009, town of Zebulon undertook some major facilities, this facility being one, the police station being another, the community center. And while I guess it's 12 to 14 years ago, doesn't seem that long ago, the equipment associated with supporting these facilities like the HVAC, they're starting to age out. And so you'll see in this budget, as well as in one of the work session presentations, how we've got a plan that we'll present to you about making sure that we stay on top of the maintenance of these buildings and replace out the mechanical equipment that is used to support these facilities. And then staffing, there's this has multiple parts to it. You'll see in this budget where we are adding positions. You'll also see where we are outsourcing some work to the private sector so we can free up the existing staffing to take care of some issues that we need to tend to, the storm drain maintenance being most prevalent. You'll also see that there's facilities associated with the staffing that you know about. Fire station number 1, you're going to see mentioned in the budget before you, the first conversations on fire station number 2. And then the last thing related to the staffing, it's not in the budget, but we are going to start the discussion because we need to start the discussion, and you'll start it at your third work session, where we'll share with you some of the early results of the market analysis and the impact that is making on a couple of departments and how we think it's affecting the rest of operations and service delivery in other departments. Last focus areas in small town life. The goals of that focus area are to increase walkability and increase connectedness. Connectedness means a couple of things. One is not only attaching, as an example, residential areas to commercial areas so people can shop, as well as residential areas to cultural areas like parks. But connectedness, just allowing people to interact with each other as well. The issues are we have gaps in our sidewalk network, and we have also a lot of subdivisions. You saw how many people are moving in here, 64% are net migration. They don't know each other, and this is a way to get them to physically meet and greet rather than just to get to know each other virtually. So this budget features, one big feature of this is just the vibrant downtown focus area. So anything that you have in a vibrant downtown and do to create a vibrant downtown is going to help facilitate small town life because it's a public area that's open and accessible and claimed to by all. You saw a picture of that with the tree lighting festival a couple years ago. West Sycamore Sidewalk is our latest gap that we are looking to connect. So last year you completed the North Arundel sidewalk that connected that neighborhood on the east side of Arundel with downtown and then subsequently to the community center and park, as well as providing some of those neighborhoods around the downtown area to have a safer way to get to the East Triangle Shopping Center. The West Sycamore sidewalk will also, like the North Arundel did, will provide access to faith-based programs. And then ultimately, as you'll see in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the West Sycamore sidewalk is part of the segment of Greenway that will connect the Little River Park to Five County Stadium. This will be the downtown connector. And as I mentioned, you'll see a Parks and Rec Master Plan. You'll receive schematics of what we're hearing from the community feedback about what should be done with some of the parks in your system. And then we'll continue to engage the community not only in public services, but to get them to start working with each other towards the community that they are calling home. As far as the details of the budget and the comparison of the budget that's been presented to you and the budget that was presented to you last year, you'll see that the revenues from last year were about $13.5 million. The revenues from this year are a little over 15. The property tax from last year was 7.6, and the property tax this year is not that much greater, about $47,000 different, which is not a lot of growth. A lot of that is coming from the fact that people have successfully gone to the assessor and had their values of their properties redetermined. Sales tax, we were hyper conservative because we were very worried. It's hard to believe it's been a year, but it has, that we put an artificially low amount for sales tax. We've placed a more robust figure this year given what we saw as far as the sales tax revenue. It's a good thing that we came in more than we did because that amount covered the greater drop than we expected in the parks and recreation fees. As far as restricted intergovernmental, those are funds that come from another governmental agency and are specified for a specific purpose. So the gas tax is an example of that. Interestingly enough, we have taken on more streets this year, but we're getting less money when it comes to Powell bill. Sales and service, these are fees that we charge for service, examples being sanitation. This is expected to go up. We will provide you greater detail in work session 1 of some of the changes that we're proposing in your fee schedule. So if you adopt those fee schedules, the expected revenue from sales and service will go up. That's a reflection of that. Investment earnings this year is nothing like it was last year, so it's just to be expected that there was quite the drop-off in investment earnings. As far as savings or your fund balance that you have access to, last year, your comprehensive annual financial report said what the fund balance was is a little over 10 million. Your fund balance now is a little over 12 million. Of that balance from last year, 6.7 was unassigned. That has grown to 7.2. Restricted is up to 1.9. Restricted, similar to the Powell bill. So if you have excess Powell bill funds that you did not spend, it's still restricted to that area. Your transportation impact fees that you charge to developers, that's another example of restricted. You're committed, those are funds that you have committed to a particular project. So if you decide not to do that project anymore, then you can decommit them. But those commitment revenues have grown. And then the assigned that you have has grown from 1.3 to 1.9. Last year, the tax rate recommended was 55 cents. You adopted that. Again, tax rate is recommended again to keep that at 55 cents. On the expenditure side, the changes from the previous year, total expenditures last year was 13.5. Expenditures this year are 15. This is being driven mostly, if not entirely, by utilizing your general fund balance. So the operating last year was 10.1. We kept a lean budget because we had to with the operating at 10.15. The capital last year was 2.8. That has gone up to 4.5. So again, it's indication of the use of the general fund balance that we're recommending to you. The debt, this is a little bit, so let me explain what's going on. Your debt did go down. It didn't go down this much. Some of the expenses that we're paying as far as your payments on the fire engine, fire ladder truck are shown in your capital. So we were trying to make things consistent. I don't know that we did or made it clear, but anyway, the debt, when I get a couple more slides, I'll show you how the debt really looks. It did go down, but not like that. As far as your specifics of the operating budget, some of the big things related to positions in the 21, we only recommended one position move forward, and that was a transition from a part-time position to a full-time position. We were able to pull together a merit increase of 4%. The general rule of thumb that we try to achieve is at least keep 1% to 1.5% over the consumer price index. Consumer price index fell dramatically this year, and so the merit pool is shown as a decrease in that. For the positions not recommended last year, you saw several of those that just did not move forward. We were expecting a shortfall, and we saw that shortfall. As far as the FY22 budget, 10.15, we are recommending a patrol officer. That would be a patrol officer to come mid-year. We will need 3 months probably to do advertisement, so that's why we listed it as coming on at mid-year. We are upgrading the fire department fire code inspector to a fire marshal. We are undertaking more fire arson investigations, and the Wake County cannot meet the level of service that we're expecting, and these duties had fallen entirely on the fire chief, so we're looking to provide some more resources by upgrading the duties of an existing position that we've got. Again, you'll see the upgrade of a part-time position to a full-time position in park maintenance. We had been doing park maintenance by committee of several part-time employees, and that's no longer effective, and that's becoming even more untenable as you've got a linear park like Beaver Dam Greenway coming online. We had to make some adjustments during COVID, and we did that by expanding the duties of an athletic coordinator to a park manager, and stumbled across something that was very effective for us. So we're transitioning the traditional duties of that position. And this is in keeping with a reorganization of that entire department that you'll see in your requested operating budget for Parks and Rec. We've added a firefighter. You've heard me mention this in the weekly updates, that with the turnover that we're seeing, and that's related to some of the market issues that I just talked about, that we have had what we're calling internally as a rotator firefighter, that when there is turnover, we've got someone in the ready to fill positions that are open on a shift. And so we're funding that in this upcoming budget. Permit technician, we've achieved some efficiencies in both our software as well as our streamlining of our processes. And not a moment too soon, because the complexity of our plans are becoming greater. You're seeing things like what you saw tonight with the special use permit, but also you're going to start to see next week your first plan development district, as well as your first bungalow court. So we're looking to transition that permit technician to a planner. Merit lowered that to 3% this year to keep the little over 1% above this year's CPI. There were several positions not recommended. Police asked for 2 patrol officers. We'll evaluate that as the year goes on. There's some, and the details of this are in the budget message in your packet, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But the development services engineer and the assistant public works director, those are 2 closely related positions. I think we need to have a closer evaluation of the services that we're providing and how best to do that. 3-person crew that was ostensibly for stormwater maintenance. We're going to outsource some of the landscaping work as a way to free up some of the existing staff to work on those maintenance positions related to, or maintenance responsibilities related to storm drain. There was a request for a service technician, again related to that. Development services engineer and assistant public works director need to get a better appreciation of the services that we've traditionally provided out of that department, and see how we transition those to the needs of current citizens. And then the planning put forth an economic development specialist, and you'll see the details of the budget message that we're going to recommend that you continue focusing on downtown. I'm not saying that an economic development specialist is not necessary, but it's not the highest priority in this coming year. Big change that you'll see is on the capital projects fund. We're recommending utilizing more of your general fund balance. So last year you pulled money out for the design of the fire station. We've got some strategic planning that we're recommending to not only identify the location of Fire Station 2, but Fire Station 3 as well. We did resurfacing. We had been doing that every other year. We're dedicating vehicle tag fees, as well as the POW bill that we're getting to resurface streets again. We're trying to get our pavement condition rating up, and so we're not spending as much money on resurfacing. Traffic signals, there was projects to go to construction. The green pace at Arundel, we're recommending that you increase the scope of that project to take care of some adjacent developments so we can get a wider section of North Arundel. The old bund at Shepherd School, that's just moving those construction funds forward. The North Arundel widening, and again, there's greater detail on this in the budget message, but that's actually 2 signal projects. We're looking to rescope that project with NCDOT and pursue some grant funding with it and pull out some intersection work by completing Jones Street to Dogwood and the Dogwood / Arundel / US 64 ramps improvements. Last year, you funded and completed the North Arundel sidewalk. This year, the sidewalk is the West Sycamore sidewalk. Fleet, the due diligence was there was a fear that we would come up short with our revenue, and this was well-founded, so we didn't replace all the vehicles that we had listed there. We replaced a couple of vehicles. There was a couple of police cruisers, and there was a crew cab for Public Works, but we held on to the rest of the money, and we'll continue to hold on to the rest of the money as we monitor how the property tax revenue is coming in. The fleet this year, you'll see as a breakdown in your budget message, more specifically in the capital improvements budget. We're employing the enterprise system to bring in vehicles and change them out more frequently. You'll also see in there a leaf truck, but we are associating that with an increase of the yard waste fee. So if you approve the yard waste fee, we'll move forward with the new leaf truck. If you don't, then we'll hold off on the leaf truck. But as I mentioned, the details of what we're recommending in the fleet is in both the budget message and the capital improvements budget. Service equipment, those are things associated primarily with your police and fire department. In and of themselves, the individual items are not expensive, but when you buy them in bulk, they become expensive, so we treat them as capital. Body cameras was a big expense that we did last year. This year, we're buying turnout gear not only as replacement, but a second set of gear for the cancer awareness and to address the cancer issues associated with the firefighting profession. Last year, we completed town hall card access, so now you all have access 24 hours a day. We're going to extend to phase 2 and undertake and do the card access for the community center. As far as debt service, this is a more realistic indication where your debt service is. So you actually paid off one of the debts that you were carrying, so the swap loader is paid off. What we are recommending in this budget is the payments that we were making on the swap loader, that we transition that into that enterprise program that I just mentioned, as well as a payloader, which is another type of equipment for Public Works. The debt payments for the municipal complex, as well as the FY14 building maintenance, continue to come down. The payments for the municipal complex will continue to FY29, and the FY14 building maintenance debt gets paid off next year. So as far as the budget scheduling process, next steps, you'll have your first budget work session May 11th. That will focus on community and economic development and the Downtown Associate Community Program, as well as your storm drain infrastructure. We will, as I mentioned before, have a time for public input and then to entertain questions and comments from you. The May 19th budget work session will focus on Walk Zebulon, or specifically the sidewalks, as well as some other ADA compliance issues that we need to address. We'll talk about property management. Again, we'll get public input. And the follow-up will be follow-up to anything we were not able to answer from you at your May 11th budget work session, as well as take additional questions and comments that you may have. And then the final budget work session is on the 27th. We will share with you the market study results as we've got them right now. As I said, we're just starting to understand this problem, so we did not include it into the budget. but expect this as a follow-up work session to August, and we're going to keep hammering away at this until we get an understanding of what the solutions are and what the issues are. You'll hear a presentation on streets and thoroughfares. You'll receive your Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Again, you'll have public input, and we'll provide follow-up to anything that you may have provided to us at the second budget work session. And then June 7th is your budget ordinance public hearing. You'll be in a position to adopt the budget ordinance that night or sometime not later than July 1st. Want to know more? We have copies available through the town's website, www.townofzebulon.org. We'll also make physical copies available at the library, the Chamber of Commerce, the Community Center here in Town Hall, the Eastern Regional Center, and always, because we are adamant about civic education, we provide a copy to the civics teachers at both East Wake Academy and East Wake High School. I know you just got presented the budget, but I'll take any questions or comments that you may have.
Questions from anyone? Sure there will be.
I'm sure.
Okay. All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, the next item then is Eastern Wake EMS property. I'd like to jump the ATV in there first, Joe, if that's all right with you, and I want to go ahead and make the board aware again that the Eastern Wake EMS agreed to sell us the ATV and the trailer to move it home. It is not street licensed, but the thinking is it's be extremely useful in our Greenway projects, getting in and out if someone's injured or whatever the case may be, or if there's even a fire. I'd like to call on Chief Perry to comment on that, if he will.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could take just a second, and I'm going to talk about the UTV, but before I do that, I want to express from our department our thanks to Eastern Wake EMS. They've been brothers and sisters in service delivery for the early 70s, either some form of Eastern Wake EMS or Zebulon Rescue. To say we were brothers and sisters would be an understatement. Some of my first and earliest recollections were helping cook hush puppies with Mr. Bryant and a few others as the fire department helped a group that didn't get a lot of money from the county or if any money at the very beginning. And people like the mayor and a lot of other people put their heart and soul in providing EMS coverage for this town and this community. And that's huge. And that drive and desire to provide coverage, provide help where needed, has carried forth from Zebulon Rescue to Eastern Wake EMS and throughout that agency. And a lot of people have served this community, and we just want to express our thanks as our neighbor across the parking lot and neighbors in our community. So I want to express our appreciation and mine personally. The UTV, and I'll make this brief, but as the mayor mentioned, Eastern Wake EMS secured a UTV years ago to provide those times when people needed assistance and they just weren't easy to get to, whether they were back off the road or what have you. And we as a fire department have always found that to be a huge resource, knowing that Eastern Wake EMS has maintained such a resource that we could get anytime we needed it for patient transport or whatever the need was. They reinforced to us over and over again that was a resource for all of us to use, and we're very thankful for that. As the evolution occurred and the move to Wake County EMS, we contacted Eastern Wake EMS and said, hey, we've got a lot of need for such a vehicle to continue to be on Eastern Wake County and to be in the Zebulon area. And the mayor mentioned the Greenways, probably one of the best examples. Should someone become injured, or even if it's needed for law enforcement uses, we reached out to Eastern Wake EMS and said, we think we've got a really good use for that resource here in Zebulon, and certainly through our aid agreements we have with our neighbors, we would help anybody else who needed that, much like Eastern Wake did. So we reached out to them and said, hey, if we'd like to express our interest in the vehicle because we think between police department and fire department, we could make great use of it. So we contacted them, and then that's where it came from. So we want to take advantage of what Eastern Wake EMS has started, and we want to pick up the baton and keep running with it, and it maybe even expand it a little bit from there. But that's, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have, but hopefully that provides just a little introduction, Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Any questions anybody had with that? I'm sure that we have $1 in petty cash, but I would ask for a motion to accept this gift with much gratitude from Eastern Wake EMS, and we'll send them a letter to that effect.
I move to purchase the UTV for $1.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. All right, Joe, we'll talk about the building now.
Well, and just like that, you lowered the amount of general fund balance, because you can scratch that off the
No, we
budget.
didn't. I'll give you a dang $1. We'll take a collection, pass the plate here.
All right, as the mayor was saying, the mayor, it's another wonderful opportunity, as we would do with any property, particularly one that has a background of being a dry cleaner. We got to do some due diligence, and so I have before you a budget adjustment to fund that due diligence. I'll take any questions or comments you may have.
One thing I will say, that part of their desire is for us to work with them in a place to store the history of Eastern Wake EMS, which actually goes back to Zebulon Area Rescue Squad that was founded back in the early '74, I think, is when we went into full operation. But they want to preserve that history, and so that is a request that comes along with it, that we work with them for some place or whatever to preserve history, and we could do it jointly with fire department history as well. But I wanted you to be aware of that, and I think that's a very reasonable request of them. Anything else, Joe? You just want us to go for the money? All right. We need a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-66.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. And I will give you just a little more insight. That building, when it was transferred to Eastern Wake EMS, it was debt-free. And that's, they're giving it back to us debt-free. So it was paid for. There was a lot of chicken and pigs that died to pay for that, and a lot of hush puppies that were cooked to pay for that. So it was a lot of sweat equity from the citizens of the town in support of Zebulon Rescue at that time. So again, I appreciate where we are today. I'm sorry we lost Eastern Wake EMS to the county. I really am, but it's a done deal. Okay, board comments. Larry, I'll start with you tonight.
Well, number one, I'd like to thank Zebulon Rescue Squad for almost 50 years of service. I can only imagine how many people have helped and went through that service over the years. Second of all, reminder about COVID vaccination. We're still not out of the woods. Please encourage your friends and family to get the vaccination. It's much easier to get now than it has been, but please get your shot. That's it.
Okay, Annie?
I was say about the same thing he did. I don't have anything.
Okay, Bev?
I think the manager has given us a lot to think about in this new budget book, so I think we've got our month planned.
Time to go to work.
Yeah.
Shannon?
First, I would like to thank I'm not sure what the Boy Scout troop was, I don't have that written down, but also the Zebulon Police Department for embarking on a litter crusade this past Saturday, collecting massive amounts of trash. And I think that this goes along nicely, first off, with the police department's commitment to helping our community in more ways than just policing, but it also works with a concerted effort mounted by citizens of Zebulon to actually pick up and keep clean parts of our town. The National or the North Carolina Wildlife Federation has a Trash for Trees program that I am hoping we can investigate a little bit further and maybe coordinate with the Arbor Day program to kind of make it come to fruition, our participation, because for every 25 pounds of trash that is collected, they will plant a tree. And as our climate changes, it's absolutely dire and very, very important for us to undertake those kinds of activities. The Farm Fresh Market had its opening day on Saturday, and I think that it was quite successful. If you haven't had an opportunity to check out the Farm Fresh Market, it takes place on Saturdays from 9 to 1 in the activated alleyway. Sheila, that's 106 North Arundel? It's on the 100 block. Just look for the big tangible tango sculpture, and you will find that activated alleyway, and you'll be able to partake in something really special and unique that our downtown has going on. If you have the opportunity to, I would encourage everyone to take the survey that the police department has put out. It is going to give the police department a better understanding of how they can be of service to our community. And it is a wonderful opportunity for residents to weigh in. I would like to thank Officer Elliott in his response to a teen in distress last month. He did an absolutely amazing job at resolving a situation that could have taken any one of a number of different turns, but it wound up that through his training and his compassion, the situation was diffused and the teen received the help that they needed. Girl Scout Troop 3306 is going to be serving up chicken plates out of the Zebulon Baptist Church parking lot on Saturday the 8th. They're going to start at 11. I suggest everyone in town go and get you some. And while I like to remain as responsive to the community as possible, as Commissioner Clark kind of alluded to, we have a lot to go over. So if you need to get a hold of me, I will be available. But I've got a significant amount to pour through in the next couple of weeks. So thank you ahead of time for your understanding.
Thank you. Lynn?
I'd just like to thank the mayor and Commissioner Lux for joining me last Saturday with the Cub Scouts and their trash pickup. As we all alluded to, that we all were scouts at one point, and the skill level, some of the things learned as a scout still lingers today. So congratulations to those young men and that were involved. I also like to congratulate Jeremy Pulley for his promotion to sergeant in the police department, and also to Mr. Benny Holden's, I think this is second or third retirement.
The town of Zebulon is just so awesome to work for that people just keep coming back for more.
And I would also like to comment on the forward thinking with the police department and some of their training as far as police de-escalation, use of force training, and also their diversity training, which will probably be provided to all of the staff. We live in a time where there is a focus on social injustice, and these are very important issues, and I would like to thank the staff for being involved in those kind of thoughts and training. So.
Yep, thank you. I just have a couple of quick remarks. One, I really meant to put this on the schedule for us to talk about, so we'll have to do it in the future. But I really like meeting work sessions at 6 o'clock. The problem is that it conflicts with Campo, because Campo is in the way of that. It's also conflicting with pop-up markets, and I'm not sure how many of those, and I know that Shannon is involved with those. So Campo is most important that we stay involved in that. And it's bad when it gets around 5:30 and you say, I'm sorry, I got to leave, and they're only basically halfway through the meeting. So we need to fix that somehow. We can either go back to 7 o'clock. I would prefer to keep it at 6, or switch it to another night, which is certainly an option as well. So be thinking about that. And I would request that be put on June agenda for us to talk about at that time, because we really do need to fix it. So the other thing I really wanted to point out, and I agree with notification concerns, I do. But anyone that had been notified, if they wanted to come in here and ask questions, we couldn't answer them because it was quasi-judicial. So understand that tonight was the night to ask the questions and find out what you needed to know. And I wish the gentleman had been here so I could explain that, because I mean, I know people just don't understand these rules, and I get it. Notification, again, is most important, so I'm not demeaning that. But if they'd gotten the notice 3 weeks ago, it wouldn't have made any difference. They couldn't come in here and get that information because it just simply was not here. So we don't have quasi near as much as we used to, but it's important to understand the procedures for that. And that's all I really had. I mean, y'all covered a lot of good stuff, so I won't be redundant and go over it again. I just wanted to comment on those few things. So having said that, Joe, manager's report.
I've got, I just want to give you all an update on the Zebulon Historic District meeting, and then recognize Bobby Fitz for a budget transfer. So you have a busy May, a very busy May, and it's you'll meet again on May 6th. This meeting came about when you requested the National Register Advisory Council to table the consideration of the Zebulon Historic District, with the understanding that it was difficult for people to come together and engage and understand what this district was. And so they granted your request and tabled it. This is the follow-up to provide the public engagement and information to what is roughly 160-acre historic district. So as a repeat from what I mentioned last time, the goals of this is to get public education and public engagement. The plan is, and we rolled out public information campaigns, and the mayor's been more than doing his share about having interviews on his mayor show, and we've got standing exhibits that we're setting up. And then the public engagement meeting itself, which is on the 6th, it'll be in that joint public hearing format. So the applicant, which is Preservation Zebulon, they're invited to present their nomination. You, as well as the Planning Board and the Wake County Historic Preservation Commission, will hear commentary from staff, from State Historic Preservation Office, as well as citizens. And the Planning Board and Wake County Historic Preservation Commission will go off to their respective meetings and then come back to you at your June meeting with a recommendation on what they think, and then ultimately what you think the National Register Advisory Council should do regarding the Zebulon Historic District. We did offer that we do have daycare and food available, just some clarifications. Bring your kids, but we are not set up to handle a child that's not potty trained, but we'll do the best we can as far as recreation programs. And food, we are restricted on what we can provide given the COVID restrictions, but we'll certainly have snacks there. And the community center, while it does afford us more space, it has a very noisy HVAC system, AC system. So we're going to turn down the temperature. So as the room fills up, we'll have some capacity. So probably a good idea, maybe bring a jacket or a sweater with you at the early onset to that meeting. And with that, I'll recognize Bobby Fitz for some budget transfers. And that concludes my presentation.
Thanks, Joe. I'll be brief as well. I just need to report some budget transfers that were made between operating lines. Finance moved $2,000 from group insurance to retiree insurance, moved $1,000 from insurance and bonds to contract services, Wake County tax collections. And project and property management moved $4,000 from professional services to buildings and grounds maintenance, moved $1,000 from equipment maintenance to mowing equipment maintenance, moved $1,200 from materials and supplies to fuel expense. And police moved $5,000 from vehicle maintenance to uniforms, moved $5,000 from fuel to contract services other, moved $5,000 from recruitment, $4,000 of that to contract services Raleigh, and $1,000 to CERT tactical firearms. And fire moved $3,000 from insurance and bonds to equipment maintenance, and moved $3,000 from salaries to salaries overtime. And in public works operations, moved $5,000 from professional services to street lighting. And finally moved $2,000 from contract services stormwater to storm drainage maintenance. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Okay, now, we need to go into closed session as per North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11A5 to instruct staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on behalf of the town in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. So is there a motion to go into closed session?
I move to go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor?